What's up, everybody? It's your boy TGK back with another reaction video. Today, we're going to react to a content creator who I think I know they have a brilliant basketball mind. They've obviously built an amazing YouTube channel and have been able to reach heights that are very, very much like goal-oriented. Like the goals that this man has reached is very much like bravo, kudos. Damn, that's something you would love to strive for. Jason Timpf, we're going to react to his video where he talked about the Dallas Mavericks and basically, you know, giving them credit like I've been asking for him to do, but he just waits till he sees the most obvious thing and then says it. But I'm going to try to be fair here today, and we're going to go and check it out. So enough of the fluff. Let's get to the stuff. All right, again, this is Jason Timpf. The title of the video says why Luka Doncic and the Mavericks are a top 3 team in the NBA. You know, I could have told you this way back then, but the thing about Jason Timpf, from what I've realized, is that he waits until he has all the data points, until it's like super obvious, until everything is like perfectly situated, and then you're like, all right, now I can say this because no one's going to disagree, right? And it's a smart way to do things. Call me critical of him. I could be critical sometimes, but I do give him his credit. He does have a really damn good basketball mind. He knows how to break down plays. He knows how to break down the X's and O's to basketball, you know, on a whole different level. But sometimes he just don't go out there. And when he does go out there, he's completely wrong and doesn't eat crow. So enough of me. Enough of the fluff. Let's get to the stuff, man.
It's kind of a wild game. Memphis completely dominated most of the second half. Ja Morant was like annihilating them. He was just getting to wherever he wanted on the floor. He had 26 points just in the second half. And Dallas kind of felt like they were on their heels most of the game. And by the way, Memphis has been a top 5 offense this year. And it starts with Ja. No one can really guard this guy. He's playmaking at an extremely high level. He's just slicing and dicing teams in the middle of the lane. He hasn't been shooting very well this year, but he's got such a repertoire of counter moves and over-the-top shots that he can hit in the short to mid-range. Like he's over 52% on floaters and hooks this year. So even though he's shooting like a super low 29% on off-the-dribble jump shots, he's still getting enough over-the-top shot creation as an option for him in the short to mid-range, and his playmaking has been so good there. It's just been a problem for a lot of teams in this league, as Memphis has been a really good offense. But
yeah, they've been a really good offense. They're top 5, top 8 defense, something like that. In the game against the Mavericks, they were, over the previous 5 games, 6 games, something like that, they were like top 5 in both categories. They've been better than the Mavericks in most of the statistical categories, the advanced analytics. They've been better offensively and defensively. So this game was really, really pivotal. And in the preseason, I was talking about, hey, watch out for the Memphis Grizzlies. I know they had a horrible season last year, but they still have a good core around Ja Morant, and they're going to be a problem. Ja Morant's a problem in general. And I went on the ledge and said that, and they're proving me right so far. So yeah, again, like I said, Jason Timpf knows his stuff. See how he broke all that stuff down very efficiently, like the man knows his stuff, man. I'll give him that.
Dallas walked him down in that fourth quarter. PJ Washington, I thought, was the star of that run. He had a couple of huge threes. He beat Jay Huff on a driving a closeout out of the right corner where he made a really athletic move towards the rim.
Yep. That was badass.
He also got the key stop on Ja Morant, a possession where, again, like with Ja, you give him space because the pull-up jumper's not there. But even if you beat him to the first spot, it's his counter moves that he has in that mid-range Euro step spin.
And to that point, I don't know if y'all saw the game. If y'all saw the game, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a play where Clay was guarding Ja Morant, and Ja basically attacked him. He spun out, pump faked up, went under Clay, and got a layup. His counter moves are difficult to deal with because he's quick. He's agile. He's able to make things happen out of nowhere, and he's just a superior athlete, man. When you're dealing with athletes like that, good luck.
And he hit Klay Thompson with a disgusting spin move in that fourth quarter that just
see what I'm saying?
Glued to the floor.
And I did not watch this at all. This is a blind reaction, pure blind reaction. I don't look for Jason Timpf's content, but if you're talking about the Mavericks, we're going to blind react to that.
And like, he just has all these counter moves in that range. So you have to like absorb contact by beating him to the spot. Then you have to recover to that secondary move. And he got a great contest on a Ja Morant little mid-range shot where he forced him to really fade and have to shoot it higher than he typically does and forced a miss. It was a huge stop in that game.
And that's why PJ Washington deserves defensive player, first team, second team, how would I say, nominations. Like, he deserves that. What word am I looking for? He basically deserves the attention in that realm defensively. Like, he's been balling. Like, if you look at his win-loss record when he has played for the Mavericks, he's literally one of the biggest reasons why the Mavericks are currently on a 6-game win streak and have been going on that nine wins out of the last 10 games. Like, he is that big of a reason.
Doncic hit a huge three after John Morant hit a three that put him up 8. He had a huge three, a step back over Marcus Smart that pulled them back within 5 and kept the game close. Derek Lively had 2 huge offensive rebounds. And then Spencer Dinwiddie hit the biggest shots of the game. A running transition 3 on the right wing that kind of was a little bit of an iffy shot, but like, he got his legs into it and he shot it up in the air and he knocked.
Definitely not an iffy shot. If you watch Spencer Dinwiddie, you know that is him. That is him. You get him in momentum, that's Spencer shot. That was Spencer shot 1,000% of the time.
Down, and then a couple possessions, I think it was the very next possession. Actually,
very next one.
The dagger on the right wing that puts the Mavericks up 5, and they get out of there for the game. Now, before we move on to some of the big picture stuff, a lot of talk for coming out of that game about free throw differential and like, oh my God, the refs just gave Dallas so many free throws in that fourth quarter and blah, 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 blah. And
I'm looking forward to see what he says, right? Because just like Kenny for real, he had a whole different perspective. He hated the fourth quarter, right? It was just the refs were too involved. As a Mavericks fan, our perspective was that third quarter was just crap. The third quarter ruined the vibe of this game. Like, the first half was great. It was a back and forth physical affair. The third quarter, the refs were too involved. They gave Grizzlies every single call, and it was so one-sided. And I understand that fourth quarter felt one-sided as well, but the Grizzlies were just so lazy in their defense and just hacking all the time, whereas the Mavericks got really bad, unfortunate calls in the third quarter. So really interested to see his perspective, because we all got different perspectives. So let's see where he goes with this.
Like, you guys know how I feel about this sort of thing. Like, I am consistent across the board, regardless of team, regardless of who it is. I think complaining about free throw differential is the lamest shit in the world. It's a loser mentality. Even when I see pros and pro coaches do it, I'm like, ugh, like, that's just such a bad look. Because, like, once again, when you go on the road, you expect that you're going to probably be on the wrong end of a couple of calls. It's part of your mental toughness going into that situation. You have to be ready for it, prepared for it, and be willing to play through it, right? And then 9 times out of 10, when I go back and watch these games and I see a free throw differential, the team that's getting more free throws is almost always the team that is playing a style that is conducive to it. They're usually playing with more force. They tend to have like a play style that is maybe more grifty and just better at getting to the line. They usually are bigger and more athletic, and smaller players are trying to compensate for it by hacking and doing that sort of thing. And like, I watched that game and like, yeah, there were a couple of calls I didn't like. The offensive rebound with the one that got reviewed where they ended up reversing it and giving Derek Lively 2 free throws. Like, yeah, I disagree with that. I think it should have just been Dallas side out of bounds or baseline out of bounds. Like,
yeah, but they implemented the rule because of the Minnesota-Dallas Mavericks game where, Kyrie fouled homeboy's arm and it led to him to drop the ball out of bounds, and they confirmed it was Dallas's ball. This is the rule they implemented because everybody complained about that. Rules are rules.
Like, it just is ridiculous to just reward somebody with free throws for contact that happens all the time in the end of these games when guys are fighting for rebounds. So, like, yeah, I thought that was a bad call. There was also a Jaren Jackson baseline drive where I thought he got Derek Lively was out of position, and I thought he kind of came down on his shoulder. I thought it should have been a foul, right?
I agree. He's not mentioning any of the third quarter stuff, but I agree.
Right? But the rest of them, like Marcus Smart trying to fight over the top of a screen against Luka Doncic, like 45 feet from the basket and tripping him, like, that's a stupid foul. And it's a foul every single time. You tripped him, so he fell. The ref's not going to just let it go, and you're in the penalty. And again, that's a pick 45 feet from the basket. Luka's not going to pull up that shot. Just go under. By physically fighting over the top of that screen, you put the ref in a position where he could make a call, and he did. There was another play. It was a three-point game, like with like 2 minutes left. And Luka gets a defensive rebound, and Marcus Smart just runs in and hacks him on both arms, like right in front of the ref. Yeah. If you watch the replay of that, you can see the ref like blow the whistle and kind of shake his head a little bit as if like, dude, you're making me make the call. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
And so, like, more often than not, when I see games like that and I go back and look, the team that ends up in the free throw disparity is just doing stupid shit. And that's what Memphis was doing. Yeah, there were a couple of bad calls. You're right. It's part of the game. If you go on the road, you expect to get a couple of bad calls.
Oh.
I'll be rooting for the Lakers tonight in Miami. I expect them to get a couple of bad calls down the stretch of that game.
That was the least of his worries, man. I feel sorry for you, Jason Tiff. I didn't mean to laugh, but hindsight 2020, I am privy to the information of what happened in that game. You didn't even know what was about to happen, man. I feel sorry for you. You know, I don't mean to laugh though, because it happens to us, but Miami beat the brakes off of the LA, and LA quit, bro. That was sick. That was disgusting.
That's just how it goes when you play basketball, especially when you go on the road. It's always a part of the game. It can happen to you at home too. It's a variable. You go into games knowing the refs are going to make mistakes just like we are going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
That is part of basketball. And again, like, I'm not trying to harp on Memphis fans here because I've seen Dallas fans do it. Hell, Lakers fans, the Lakers have the best free throw differential in the league over the last couple of years, and I've seen Laker fans say LeBron gets the worst whistle, and AD got hacked on that one. Like, everyone does it. I personally think it's lame. I think it's I think it's a huge waste of time to even focus on. It
matters though. It matters in the sense that the referees can just ruin the experience of the game when there's too many foul calls. And obviously if a team is like hacking away, it makes sense, but sometimes it just ruins the game. Like, the referees become too involved. You lose the excitement of the game. Like, you lose the vibe of the game. Like, it's just not the same. And so, thankfully, the game against the Mavericks and Grizzlies, it was still exciting towards the end, but it was so close to just being unbearable to watch, like that third quarter was.
Big picture concerns about officiating in the NBA, but I think talking about it within the scale of within the scope of competition is a big waste of time, and I think it's a loser mentality. And again, like,
I agree.
This has been a consistent theme for Memphis. They have struggled with execution and decision making at the end of games. They're 2-6 in clutch situations this year. They had a negative clutch net rating a couple years ago when Ja was healthy most of the season. Again, like, this is one of those things where it's like a lot of times at the end of these games, it'll swing on a couple of decisions. That Marcus Smart rushed a three at above the break on a ghost screen. That was a bad shot. Him committing those two bad fouls. Those three mistakes get wiped out. That could be a very different game, right? Like, it's just, more often than not, it just comes down to your decision making and execution in those situations, not something out of your control like the refs or something along those lines. And bottom line is, Ja Morant, after slicing and dicing them all night, really couldn't get anything for himself except for that 3-point shot that he hit from above the break there in crunch time. So, like, that was the issue at the end.
And the three that he hit was off the glass too. That was ridiculous ass shot.
In that game, Luka was able to consistently generate some pretty high quality shots, and Memphis wasn't. They ended up getting the win. And key offensive rebounds for Dallas, things along those lines. I was thinking about this while I was watching the game last night. I think Dallas is the third best team in the entire NBA. I landed here in a different way than I did last year. Like, last year, I had Dallas as third as well going into the playoffs. I had Boston and Denver, and then an end of a tier, and then I had Dallas as the top of the second tier of championship teams. This year, I came in with Dallas at number 5. I had Denver and New York above them, but from what I've seen from all three of those teams this year, I think that Dallas is better than both of them.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I came into the year knowing that the Dallas was better than those two as well. So, now, not saying I'm smarter than Jason Tiff. I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying.
They just have so many good players. And some of last year's guys have gotten better.
Yep.
Luka
15% better. If anybody know, if you know what I'm talking about.
Luka and Kyrie, I'm not going to get too far into them. Like, Luka's numbers are down this year and everyone's freaking out. I couldn't care less. I expect Luka to be a better player than he was last year by the time he gets to the postseason, as long as he stays healthy. So I'm just not worried about Luka. And by the way, in his last 2 games, he's averaging 37 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists on 57% from the field and 47% from 3.
Well, I was concerned because he was very inefficient and it was impacting the team. So it does matter. It does matter. Not the numbers. Luka could go 25, 10, and 10. I don't care as long as the efficiency is there. If the efficiency is there, it opens everything else up. When the efficiency is bad and he's taking the most shots, that's when it's an issue. So it's not about the numbers. It's about efficiency. So it kind of is about the numbers. But yeah, anyway.
With 7 steals, by the way, as he continues to play passing lanes really well. Like, Lucas seems to be getting back to form. I'm not worried about him.
Not right
PJ
now.
Washington is shooting the ball much better than he did last year. You remember last year after the finals when I talked about how much PJ Washington would probably be repping above the break threes all summer in the gym? Well, he's shooting 49% on above the break threes this year. He has good form. I think he's capable of being a reliable shooter there. And that could be key for the Boston matchup. As we know, in the Boston matchup, with Derek Jones out of the equation, that's likely going to be a center on PJ Washington and him needing to hit pick and pop jump shots if they were to get back into that matchup. Those above the break threes are vitally important for them in that specific matchup. He's also just a really good functional athlete. Like, he got that key stop against Ja. He gets contested defensive rebounds. He brings real downhill force driving closeouts. He can beat mismatches in the post. He's just a really, really good player. Derek Lively is just awesome. He had 6 offensive rebounds last night. Last year, Derek Lively was basically a 1-to-1 assist-to-turnover guy. This year, he's a 2-to-1 assist-to-turnover guy. Like, I talked about guys getting better. Derek Lively and PJ Washington are just better basketball players now than they were last year. That's an add of talent to this team.
Yep. Great point. Good shit, Jason Tim. Good shit, Jason.
By the way, Derek Lively's over 50% on hooks when he needs to finish over the top of a switch or a quick offensive rebound putback, something along those lines. He's generated 13 points on 10 post-ups this year. That's low volume, but that's 1.3 points per possession when you dump the ball to the block to Derek Lively. Him and PJ Washington just make for a very athletically imposing front line. They defensive rebound really well when the two of them are on the floor together. Dallas has not been a good defensive rebounding team this year, but they get 75% of their defensive rebounds that are available when PJ and Derek Lively are on the floor together. They both can switch in ball screens and guard perimeter players. They run the floor super well. Dallas has a 96th percentile transition defense when those two are on the floor together.
Look at that.
They provide spacing in their own ways, with PJ Washington knocking down shots and driving closeouts, and with Derek Lively as a vertical spacer and a guy who can make plays in the 4-on-3 when he gets ignored in blitzes and stuff like that. So, like, PJ Washington and Derek Lively have both gotten better. Daniel Gafford gives them depth to have a good center on the floor for 48 minutes. Spencer Dinwiddie has become like their de facto third option and is closing games for them at the 3. In the last 5 games, Spencer Dinwiddie's averaging 17 points and 6 assists on 52% from the field and 52% from 3.
Smoothie King, ladies and gentlemen. Smoothie King is back. Nah, Spencer Dinwiddie, just like I've been saying, PJ Washington is the biggest X factor for this team. But Spencer Dinwiddie, when I talked about bringing him on board, I was envisioning him fitting into the role where when Luka's sitting or if Luka needs another player. But knowing Jason Kidd, I forgot this point about Jason Kidd. He loves those 3-guard lineups. He loves having 3 ball handlers out there to create chaos offensively. And now that he got Spencer Dinwiddie back, you got Luka, you got Kyrie. It's like Brunson, Luka, and Spencer once again, but just better.
Not to mention he gives them a good perimeter defense option in that lineup. And, I actually find this really fascinating because I wanted the Lakers to bring Spencer Dinwiddie back. I thought he was a good player, but he did not have a good offensive season the brief time that he was in LA. And a big part of that was where he was in the pecking order. Yeah. Like, Austin was getting more touches than Spencer. D'Lo was getting more touches than Spencer. LeBron's getting more touches than Spencer. Hell, Rui's getting more touches than Spencer. Anthony Davis is getting more touches than Spencer. Spencer was like the 6th option on that team as he'd come in as a backup guard.
Yep.
Right? So, like, as I look at Dallas's situation and the recent success that Spencer's had, Spencer's a rhythm player. He needs to have the ball in his hands, and he needs to feel like he can take a shot without getting in trouble. He's the kind of guy, he's got a little bit of that audaciousness in him where he's like, he will take that movement transition 3 in a clutch situation, but he's also got the confidence and the skill to knock it down too. He just has to be in rhythm. And again, he'll have stretches when he goes cold and he has his issues, but I like him as an option there. It gives them an option, and that's really the key. It's about versatility.
Yep.
Oh, we haven't even talked about the depth of the roster. Guys like Najee Marshall, Jaden Hardy, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson hasn't even played really well this year, right? But, like, they have versatility. When you take a look at their core 4, so Kyrie, Luka, Derek Lively, and PJ Washington, we can assume that those 5 are more or less, or those 4 are more or less going to be the closing 4 for any matchup.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But because of certain players are playing better, they have a lot of different options they can go. Like, oh, you're playing a big team like the Denver Nuggets and you need more size. Well, bring in Maxi Kleba. Just go Luka Kyrie and then go PJ, Maxi, Derek Lively. Now,
I mean, I get, yes. In theory, yes. But no, please no. No. I'd rather Najee Marshall out there.
all of a sudden, you've got a lot of size. You can put a big on Jokic while having a big and help on the back line, right? You can put Kleba on Jokic and put Lively in help, right? You can bring in extra size for that matchup. Oh, we're guarding Boston, and we just need another guy who can guard on the perimeter really well. Well, you can go with Najee Marshall at the 3 or Spencer Dinwiddie with as well as he's playing. Spencer's a good defender. He's not a great defender, but he's a good defender, and he can really do the job. He's got long arms, good size, good strength. He can move pretty well, right?
Hey, yo.
Let's say you're playing like a team like an Orlando or another team that has a lot of size that likes to match upon. A team like the Lakers, for instance. Like Klay Thompson is one of the best options in the league for like defending players in the post and shooting the 3. And so you could put Klay at the 3 for matchups like that. They have a lot of versatility for different types of matchups in the conference. And it didn't feel like that last year because they didn't have, guys like Spencer Dinwiddie and Najee Marshall. They didn't have guys like Klay Thompson to have for those types of looks, right? They're deep enough to stay high in the standings all season. We just saw them weather the loss of Luka for a little while. And I think they match up better than with Boston than they did last year. Do I think they'd beat Boston? I wouldn't pick them, but it's an easier path to see. Like PJ Washington making above the break threes would really help in that matchup. I think Luka will be in better shape and defend better in that series after he got embarrassed last year. Spencer at the 3 gives them another mobile perimeter player to have as an option in those situations. Kyrie was really cold in that series last year. It's easy to see a pathway where he would be better this year, right? So like
and Kyrie would be a lot better because of the gravity that Klay Thompson has. I've been talking about this. The reason Kyrie is having such an insane year efficiency-wise whenever Luka is out there with him, he's damn near, he shot for a good portion of the season, almost 50% from the 3. And he continues to shoot amazing whenever Luka and Klay are on the court with him. Klay unlocks Kyrie, which is not what you would have expected. You would have expected Klay being more unlocked. It's really Kyrie who's more unlocked, and definitely would be way better in another series against Boston versus everything that we have now in the squad.
A long shot still, because it feels like there's a gap between them and Boston, but I feel like
there ain't no gap. There ain't no gap. No, there ain't no gap. There's no gap. No gap. No gap whatsoever. I mean, there was literally a Boston Celtics fan talking about he doesn't want to see the Mavericks in the finals. I'm just saying there's no gap.
Like they've closed that gap some amount.
A lot.
And so all it takes is certain variables to go their way for them to be able to potentially get it done in like a puncher's chance type of sense. And if you believe in that, again, all odds provided by DraftKings here, the Dallas Mavericks are plus 550 to win the conference and plus 1,100 to win the title. So some real odd.
That's cool. I'm going to put 100 on that right quick.
If you're looking to make a bet on Dallas.
All right, cool. That was Jason Tipp, man, giving you some good breakdown about the Dallas Mavericks for once. That's some good stuff. Good stuff. Like, I know I give the guy some crap quite a bit, but, it's always good to hear some concise, well thought, provoking ideas or provoking thoughts about the Dallas Mavericks. It's good to hear. But this is something us Mavericks fans already been knowing, right? So, but it's cool to see a Lakers fan, also someone that doubted the Mavericks for the majority of the playoffs last year, kind of give them some shine. So it's pretty good to hear. I ain't mad at it. Anyway, man, it's been your boy TGK. If y'all don't mind dropping a like on this video, consider subscribing, consider becoming a member. I'm going to do mass pre and post game shows as long as my internet allows, and also a Midnight Madness. Anyways, man, it's been your boy TGK. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Stay being a chill guy, like the chill guy in me. All right, we out.